Hi, let's go to my Facebook page. I didn't use this for a year or two, and I just started using it again. Here's my page. Now, I want to read you this. I want to read you this important thing. Okay, let's make this big size. Okay. Okay, before I read this, please give me advice as to what I should do. This is what I've been suffering through for 10 years, maybe longer if you include working at the entertainment stuff. This is my biggest these are the biggest problems I'm going through. There are two of them: getting my family back, and the other one is making a better living at the entertainment stuff, which I don't know. I have options that I can do, but I don't really want to rent this house out. It's special, and I tell you all about it in this post. So I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to try to stay to exactly what it says and just be as vivid and straightforward as I can, and put some meaning into my words as I read this. Okay, this is my entire difficult life situation that I've been going through for more than 10 years. Can anyone help me with what to do, please? I have been celibate for years, literally. I was actually monogamous in my thoughts to Danica for the past 2 years, hoping and praying to get my family back who are in Texas, but she mostly gave me the cold shoulder and has my children in Texas. My kids were taken away to there 3.5 years ago, and I had to suffer this whole time without them. And in Texas, where it's like she makes me be around her dad to see them, and it's not like it was when we were all together and comfortable around one another. I kind of lost it the past few weeks and started maybe thinking I may find a new wife. Because for the past 10 years, since she made me sign the divorce papers, she has on and off brought her and the kids to Texas, and it made me suffer all alone in isolation, solitude, and depression for maybe 8 years of the past 10 years. Was awful. And here and there she would move back and let me see them more, and she wasn't in Texas 8 years. I'm gonna stop reading from this thing. She was in Texas 5 or 6 years, something like that. Anyway, it was awful, and here and there she would move back and let me see them more, or at times I messed up and tried looking for a new wife. Like, I'd start getting in shape and looking, seeing if someone would be interested, and maybe I can meet a new wife. And it always made things worse. I was on top of the world feeling for just a few weeks, starting about December 23rd, 2020. Again, had suffered before that, repenting and celibate for years, wanting my family back before that was not easy. Then for a few weeks, started really enjoying myself, got 10 times the libido after quitting my meds, and then a few days ago, she started writing me again. And she was writing me a lot, and it made me miss her and the kids a lot, like usual. And I became very depressed for about 2 days now. And I got a plane flight to see them, but can't imagine having to fly on a plane and travel in Ubers and cabs all day by myself with strangers, and then maybe have to stay in some hotel, and it takes so much money to be there. Unless still working on that, maybe there's a way to spend less, but kind of not how things are done and their family. And to be alone in those awful hotel rooms and Ubers with strangers and getting delivery food all by myself. And I'll stop reading for a moment and let you know I had to stay in a really seedy hotel that happened to be nearby them. And a guy died, a tranny died 2 rooms down as I was eating my California Pizza Kitchen food that I ordered by myself, trying to feel okay in those horrible conditions, this kind of poor feeling hotel room. And it was costing so much money to be there every day. And this guy died of an OD or something, a tranny who was 60 years old, a few rooms down. And I walked out of my room after finishing my meal, and he had just died, and the ambulance and everything got called there, and his foot was hanging out of the room. And it made me feel sick and horrible and all alone without my family. And it's just not enjoyable, you know, seeing my children under those conditions. That was bad feeling. But I got to stay at her house for 7 days, like a little more than a year ago. It was a miracle. I didn't get near her physically. It wasn't, you know, she hasn't wanted to do that in years. Anyway, okay. Just to be able to see my kids, like, on her and her father and mother's terms, and it doesn't, I don't know, maybe there's, by some miracle, can be okay. I don't know. I might have to move there or something. I don't know, but it's so, I'll keep reading. Like, she goes to her parents too much instead of me, and I think it messed everything up with our marriage and in some ways our lives. Someone there, not saying one of her parents, but someone helped her to commit adultery on me when we were married in 2008. We had been monogamous since we met in 2000. Someone close to her there helped her at his house commit adultery on me, going against, literally taking action to go against God and Jesus to separate what God had brought together by creating biblical grounds of divorce. That person did, and she did, by committing adultery. And I stayed with her 2 years after that and was never with anyone else. Now, I started here and there, I would lust after other women in my thoughts. And that's not really the same as adultery. It's not grounds for divorce. I know it's not grounds for divorce. It has to be real adultery to be biblical grounds of divorce. So I stayed with her 2 years after that, but it wasn't the same because she said she wasn't really in love with me anymore and showed other men attention sometimes, like showing up. Well, see, it's not her fault. I did stuff too. I lusted after other women. I thought about being with other women while I was married to her. And I may have been kind of mean to her about her body image and wanted her to look perfect, and I wanted me to look perfect. And I had this idea, I wanted to look perfect because people had made fun of me growing up, and I had something to prove, and I wanted us to look perfect. And I put a lot of pressure on, I put a lot of, you know, she got skinny. It was not easy. You know, but she looked really good, and she became a YouTube celebrity. But we worked so hard at that for so long. And we had it difficult growing up, which is why we didn't get to enjoy things in the way most other people did. So, and it's something special to us that we're good at, our films and screenwriting, and it's God's work for us. It's not just looking good. It's not just the shallow for show stuff. Anyway, I'm going to read this. I stayed with her 2 years after that, but it wasn't the same because she said she wasn't really in love with me anymore and showed other men attention sometimes, like showing off her body more, and was no longer the innocent mother with a newborn who had put some weight on her and stayed at home and covered up her butt with a sweatshirt wrapped around her waist so no one would look at her body. I liked her the best when she was like that. Well, looking back, I liked her. Like, something happened and she got kind of more sexy acting. And I don't know if it's because I was not ready to settle down and I had not gotten to do that stuff when the other people had gotten to do that stuff before they got married. I never gotten to really do any of that. Never had an orgasm with another woman until I was with her. Had never had an orgasm with a woman until I was with her, and still hadn't had one with anyone else, even in my late 30s. And I don't know if it's because I was not ready to settle down, but she is the one who started being that way on her own. So I don't know. But I messed up. I wanted her to look more attractive, kind of. I don't know. But maybe it's not that bad. We both messed up about the same. And I'm willing to go back to her and be really monogamous for all eternity. Maybe there is some hope by a miracle that I can get my happy family back. Most of the past 10 years has been suffering alone at my house in isolation and depression, with her taking the children away from me or not letting me get near her in love and intimacy like we once had. Like her mom tried to this is a different her mom tried to make her think I am bad for her or something. And I think it hurt both of us by us not being as one flesh, not being equals. And her mother tried to really not allow that to be together as one, like God brought us together. I guess her mother and father, it's almost like her mother tried to further separate us and tell Danica that I was bad for her, instead of it being the God-given, brought together, God-given wife and husband brought together as one, as equals, as the same flesh, when it hurt us to be separated from one another. It hurt us. And so I had to mostly suffer with pretty bad depression here and there, all alone, and wanting my wife and kids back for most of the past 10 years after we got a divorce. Here and there, I got a life, but that stuff I thought was so fun and enjoyable was a shallow, well, sometimes it was a meaningful way of life, but I would literally rather be dead than be some single guy the rest of my life. I would literally rather die right now than go on with life having short-term relationships with women and not having that love and closeness and trust I shared as one with my wife, where we trusted one another 100%. I'm going to stick to what I actually wrote. Where we trusted one another 100%, we're 100% truthful about anything and everything, and she wanted to be Siamese twins with me. I don't want to go on living being single or being with people who I get about 1 to 10% of the love and acceptance I got from her and the kids, yet I had to, for most of the past 10 years, go to those people. I like having an equal at home who I can tell the truth to about everything, my wife. And it has to be a wife that God brought me together with. I don't want those short-term relationships. I could sometimes, and I know it's wrong because I know that these people are important, but sometimes I lose it, and the little amount I get from them and how horrible it feels going on without my wife and children, sometimes I could care less about that shallow, almost insignificant waste of time and empty feeling inside I get from the small amount of love I get from those kinds of people, like some friends or pretty much anyone else. Sometimes it feels like, besides my wife and kids, feels like I get 1 to 10% of the love I had with my wife and kids. Yet some of them I know are really good people, and I know God wants me to interact with them and show them kindness, and it's important that they're in my life. And to be truthful, there have been times when some of them here and there have made me feel as much as maybe 40% or maybe higher of what I had with my wife and children. But it wasn't for long, and those people left usually were not long-term people, and was not like the huge amount of love and acceptance and happiness I felt being with my wife and children. And the others, and I had them every day. And the other stuff that brings temporary happiness, and in this past 10 years, I'd go to the other stuff that brings temporary happiness to make me feel happy. like trying to go for the shallow BS in life that is insignificant to God, like earthly things like money, success, pleasure from sex, looking good, having a cool car, all that stuff that is almost meaningless to us for our eternal souls. And usually pursuing that itself will leave us unhappy and kind of empty. It's like without your loved one, and it is for a fact, it's not like without your loved ones to come home to, what is the purpose of the other stuff? How can you feel happy when you don't have those significant relationships and love from those special people who God placed in your life? It's almost impossible. I can't imagine it being possible, because I thought that stuff would be okay and I'd finally get to do that stuff, those pleasures, the things I wanted with my career. And then I thought I'd get to keep my family, and I wrote into the divorce decree that I'd get to be with them. I'd get to see them whenever I miss them, anytime I miss them. So I know that would always be okay. However, she made it, I don't know if I can see them every time I miss them. So most of the time, I don't waste my time talking to other random people as much. And how can you feel happy with that shallow, meaningless stuff? So most of the time I don't waste my time with talking to random people so much, but I know it's kind of important, and sometimes can be very important to talk to them, to talk to those other people. It's important sometimes, and to do those things that you enjoy for yourself. It says in the Bible, kindness to others and kindness to yourself. It says, do unto others as you would do unto yourself. So it's okay to be kind to yourself and do those things that you enjoy, but you have to have those other people. And I am supposed to be kind to those other friends and stuff, but I don't know if it's enough. And it can be okay, and sometimes it can be more, but it's generally is not, and is so little compared to what I had with my wife and kids. No one else really understands or can be like what I had with my wife and kids that I am aware of, unless God wants me to share that with other people, another wife or other people, when there is no sex at all with those other people, of course. Rather not confuse the two with a wife or other people, not into that weirdo shit, by the way. I said I shouldn't have cursed. Anyway, so instead I have mostly suffered in solitude at my house all alone. Worked really hard rehabbing the houses I lived in, my house I lived in before this, that I fixed up and sold, and my current house that I fixed up and I don't want to sell. It's really special. So I did that for 5.5 years, and actually worked 8 years full time in only 5.5 years, because there were times that lasted 1.5 years, 8 months, when I was working 12 hours a day every day. It was so difficult, and it was awful. Most of the time working by myself indoors, and it often made me want to die. It is not my first choice of work, but I guess it can be okay and not make me want to kill myself every moment I am doing that stuff. Or more realistically, that was a typo, but try to imagine how horrible life is with no human contact, and typing and texting and communicating with others on computers most of the time. Less human contact, it sucks. More realistically, not wanting to kill myself every day of having to work at that stuff at some time in the day that I was working at that stuff, I would want to kill myself through all of it, pretty much. I'd say all of it, working on that home renovation stuff. Now, maybe there's a way it can be okay. Maybe I can do it differently and it can be okay. I know how to do it well. I know how to make money at it, however, considering I had worked at entertainment at least 20 years with a tremendous, relentless dedication before that, and then worked more with the expectation that I would have gotten 100 times or 10,000 times or infinity times what I got in return. The small little 1% or 0.1% that I got in return for that relentless effort all those years to finally make it an entertainment. And what I got in return was way less than what I expected. And that makes life difficult when I still have to pay the bills after all that, knowing that survival literally at one time turned into going into shock, seeing hell rise from the surface and having to go out there and work in that every day at one time, thinking it was the end of the world, having to shave my head like a fucking brainwashed military cadet and get to work. What my life became, having to pay my bills, and it was horrible and terrifying. It had me fear driven into having to work and make more money, as much money as I could, because I thought they were going to bring me to these underground hell-like Illuminati facilities and keep me alive for hundreds of years and torment me. And I got fear driven and worked really hard and tried to make more money and became this like person who I hid my true self inside and pretended like I was one of the good old boys, because I didn't want to be tormented in those facilities underground until I found God and Jesus. Until I found God and Jesus and what reality is all about. That's not, those facilities aren't real. You don't, it's hell that I was afraid of inside the earth. And the only thing that gets people there is by being mean to others. By being mean to others and not forgiving them, and sinning a lot and doing things that are really bad. So I didn't have to worry at all. There's no Illuminati, you know. It's just, it's hell and heaven, and you go to heaven when you're kind to others and forgive them. That fear was the devil or demons or something like that created it to trick me, like they trick people, they trick everybody into leading them into temptation and sin. And they get us to sin a little bit, but don't let them trick you. Don't buy into that BS. Don't ever let them trick you. Don't ever let them trick you into being mean or thinking that you have to do something that you don't believe in and you don't even like. Those fear-driven people who get driven by that fear their whole lives to work and work and work and blame others. Anyway, let's start reading from the thing again. And I had worked at real estate out of fear. It was not easy, but I had also worked out of genuine, real hard work when I wasn't afraid of the fear-driven stuff and actually was having to work really hard until it hurt my body and I had to go to urgent care. I worked so hard. Anyway, but by some miracle at this house, all that worry went away and I found God and Jesus. And then I had to get to work on something that made me want to die no matter how I felt, and it was not easy. That was renovating the house. It took more work than I thought. Anyway, I'll just read it how it says. And had my closest loved ones, the only ones who ever understood, my wife, who went out to Los Angeles the same year that I did, without knowing one another, from other random cities when I was 19 and she was 20. Both went out to Los Angeles to be filmmakers and actors and singers and stuff like that, musicians, because of things that had happened to make us want to go, that were for kind of the same reason. That I can't imagine anyone else ever understanding what we had been through to get us to do that alone at such a young age, and all we went through together until she became a YouTube celebrity. I believed in her with everything I had and wanted the best for her, the same or more than I wanted for myself and my children until they got there. And her, one of the only people who, and they're still having to pay their bills, and her, one of the only people who ever related to me about that stuff, can't imagine anyone else understanding and sharing what we have in common. But it may be possible. There are other people out there. And there may be someone special who I'm supposed to be with as a wife, because she may not be my wife anymore. We got a divorce. She committed adultery on me in 2008. So and it sucks having them taken away from me, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do to feel happy and okay. I miss the happy family, being at home with them, walking around the house, eating food, you know, going on the computer, the happy video game sounds of Fishville or whatever the heck the new, the cute video game sounds and the babies playing, and I love that. That made me feel happy, and I get to feel myself and be myself and love them and care about them and be there for them, make sure that they're okay any way I could, and make sure we're all the best and they're the best. And I gave so much effort to them, make sure they're okay. And now, with no one else there for me besides other people in small ways, like my parents can be okay, but not like my wife and children. I don't know if I'm married to her anymore. Maybe my wife, maybe not. We're divorced. So I guess we're divorced. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but anyway, I don't feel as comfortable in Texas, but they are there. My dream house is here, that I put my life into, working so hard to get it ready for my wife and kids and to pay my bills, because I had to get a loan against the house so I could pay my bills. And there's something telling me I had to work on the house so it would be okay. It was a special house that the builders took 7 years to build. It was their dream as an art school. Anyway, I worked so hard that had me hospitalized once, and it's a special house. I came close to death out here. It felt more than a dozen times since I've been here. And I've been here since the end of 2016. However, it's a really special house that I enjoyed living at and felt happier and more at peace and more at home in this environment, at this house, than anywhere else I've ever lived my entire life. Maybe earlier childhood was okay. But this house is for me, and it's special, but I'm so alone that it hurts. It hurts. It has hurt to be alone all these years. It has made me feel pretty bad. So there's a time when I loved Los Angeles. I don't love it anymore. I don't love any physical place besides heaven. You're not supposed to love earthly things as much. Anyway, I mean, all the musicians and entertainment people who motivated me to be my best, made me feel free and happy and be myself, and the things that made me personally happy growing up, they were all from there. Besides, I love my parents and honored my parents. Besides my parents, I honored them and people who I loved in my life. But the things that made me personally happy, that motivated me to do my work on earth, music, film, they're all pretty much from Los Angeles. All the movie work, big music stuff, mostly there. But nowadays, you can do that from anywhere. I mean, Texas, what cool famous people that I like came from there? What, can you think of any? George Bush? Maybe Matthew McConaughey and Willie Nelson in Texas, in Austin or whatever. Sandra Bullock. They're not particularly. I said here, I can't even think of one who I personally really related to a lot, as growing up as someone who I was like, wow, that's amazing. Unless they left to California, like Janis Joplin. And, that's just how I feel inside about the type of music that, I can respect others when they're different from me, but they're still going to be different from me. And, how close can you be to those people when they're that different from you? But Danica was different in some ways, and many ways we were very the same. So I don't know. Maybe I can meet someone a little different from me. I don't know who I'm in love with and God wants me to be with, and we have so much more in common that I'm not aware of, besides that stupid those false idols in Los Angeles that I thought were so cool. So I don't know. Maybe God wants me to be with them. Who knows? Anyway, I said, They may have a few, maybe 1% of my favorite entertainment stuff I enjoy and relate to. Sometimes that was mostly in California, some in New York. But but again, I don't know. I thought that stuff was I can't imagine having to come back to my small town, and after I had worked and worked out there to be famous, and really I just went to school the whole time but made films at it, and instead had to come back to my small town, get married when I had never planned on being married or having kids. And I loved her, I wanted to be with her but not be married. But I did it for her because I loved her and couldn't live without her. And then had to live in my small town where they made fun of me growing up and wear a suit to be a real estate agent. And it just felt awful. And it made me depressed. I had never been depressed before in all my life. All the anxiety and difficulty that I went through, mind racing, whatever it was, the God's work that was so difficult when I was younger, I never gave up and felt depressed until I had to move back to a small town and be a real estate agent after I had working with everything I had for 7.5 years to be a filmmaker, be a musician, stuff like that. And I had to come back to my small town. It made me depressed. Anyway, but that's me personally. I think that's a problem or not a problem, or I don't know. Who knows? It's not like your closest loved ones. I'd rather have my family and and I don't know what I'd work at, because God wants me to do those films. I'm really good at it when I actually do my films and music. Anyway. Anyway, here in Virginia now, I can literally walk out my back door in the summertime on the most beautiful day imaginable and have the run of 400 acres of the most beautiful place I have ever been, with kind animals who never hurt anyone here, and feel so safe I can walk up the mountain alone from the bottom of the hill in the pitch black dark and leave my doors unlocked, and no bad guy can figure out, no animal's gonna hurt me, no bad guy can figure out how to get to my house without getting lost on the side roads and stuff to get to my house, or causing his car to break and sending him back down the mountain. That's what happens to some of those types of people. They just can't get here. And people don't hurt one another here generally, but I still lock my doors sometimes, that's for sure. I get a feeling I lock my doors. It's a special house. Plus the builders, I already said this, took them 7 years to build. It was their dream, built as an art school. And I was an artist since I was a baby and taught my children art, and much more than that. My grandmother was an art teacher. But then again, it's just a house, an earthly house. Now I'm going through all the problems I have in my life, my entire life problems. This is it. This is everything I've had as a problem. The not having the famous stuff pay off in the way I thought, starting about 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I'd been at it a while. I was like, wow, still having to go to schools and stuff. Wasn't, I kept having to work way harder. And then had my family taken away from me. That was the worst. So those are my problems. It sucks having the love taken away from you. And my wife and children are infinitely more important than just some house, or the being famous, or and I would feel way happier with them in their house and feel more at home at any house, no matter how big or how small, as long as it was in a safe neighborhood, had running water, was hygienic, and roof overhead with heat. Would be happier than ever to be with them again, no matter where we lived. no matter where we lived. I don't care if it's a little shitty shack in the woods, but she has a problem with that. Her family really value money. They really value money. I don't know why. It's a value for them. It's a definite value for them. I don't get it. It's important. So I don't want to say anything too bad about that, but I do think I like living away. Oh, and I found God in Jesus now that I've been separated from that tremendous influence that didn't go away even on her when we were married. But maybe I can get along with them somehow. I don't know. I think they valued money way too much. Way too much. May have, I don't want to say, may have hurt people, but it may have not. I'm not going to comment. Don't want to say anything bad about their family. But I do think I like living away from as many neighbors. It's like I also have to pay the bills and don't know how I'm going to do that. Though I have options. I have plenty of options. And by some miracle, I've made it this far and done pretty well. But not, I'm not a millionaire. But I've done okay. And it's from a lot of hard work. And somehow I made it work. My YouTube channel, I don't know, it's earning some money, but not a lot. And I'd have to, really look like a fitness model of today who, generally did steroids one time to get the superhuman low body fat, higher muscle, perfect face look that they have. It's not easy having to actually work that hard to get a body like that and be in good health. And I'd have to pretty much look that way and be confident, get to have long hair and the things that make me happy, being myself, whatever the things are that are true to myself. And that makes me way more confident when I feel like I look really cool. It just makes me feel happier. I think I'd have to do that and then do about the same quality videos I've been doing the whole time. And then I'd have more the appeal, the likability for somebody like Elvis Presley or people like that. So I think that's what I might have to do, but that's a shallow thing. That's a shallow for show type of thing. However, it makes me really happy, and I endured being looked down on for 10 years through all these schools about my appearance. I had body dysmorphic disorder and stuff I thought was wrong with me. So I think it's okay that I look pretty good. God thinks it's okay for me to have what I have, with my health, my looks. I'm healthy. I'm really healthy. I should probably start working out again. I haven't worked out much in two days. Anyway, so John Birmingham is my actual brand on YouTube. So you'd think I'd have to really work on myself to have people think, wow, he really is cool, and I like watching. It makes me, so maybe why I have not had as much success because I didn't go all out on being at the entertainment level personally as people like Elvis or the greatest of all time entertainers, who people were like, wow, because of the way they focused on, they really worked on themselves and their music. But he didn't know how to do films. He didn't know how to write a screenplay. He played music, he wrote music, and he looked good, and he danced. And I think that's, he kind of acted. How much effort, how good was he at that? But that's what he did. He looked good. He was really good at music, really good performer, really good at music, really good performer, really good dancer, and that's what he did. And I did all these other things, and I'm a different artist and different person than him, and I'm good how I am now. I'm good how I am now. Look at his name. Look at this. Look at this. Look at his name. Elvis. Evils. Evils. Look at this. Look at this. Evils. Elvis. Evils. No. Yeah. So maybe people look at me and are like, meh, oy vey, he is a regular Joe. Who cares? Oy vey. And I said, I've never heard anyone say that here in the South since I was born here in 1977. It's not easy at my age, especially 43, but I can do it. Have to have a lot of energy and be good at entertaining. You know, I can still do that. I think it's up to God if he wants me to do that or not. I know I'm capable of it when I work hard at that. I can get good looks. It's still possible. People can be a male model in their 40s and 40s, and when they really work out, you can look better when you work and get more physically active and stuff. It helps. Helps with it makes me feel personally confident to look good. They used to not talk about it ever and pretend, oh, I don't do any of that, you know. Yet the other work made me want to kill myself. I said, you know, I don't know if I'll have to do it again, and it won't make me want to kill maybe I won't kill myself. I'm probably not going to kill myself, but I hope I don't have to do it again. But sometimes it can be okay. Maybe if I had my wife and children, or a wife or loved ones enough to where, you know, something got happy, maybe by some miracle I could do that real estate work and feel happy. Something different happened, you know, and I felt like a boss could feel like myself telling others what work to do and making sure they got it done properly without me having to do all the work myself. Maybe it'd be okay. But I am really good at the actual filmmaking, and I don't know, it hasn't been okay so far. If you want to know how it's felt, it has not felt okay so far, and I don't know how it ever will. And it's been really difficult just paying my bills and just living. So but I'm really good at the filmmaking when I actually do it. Other people can't do it. They don't know how to write an entire screenplay, do the script breakdown. They don't know how to line produce in UPM a whole movie. The unit production manager, he's the person who physically gets everything arranged and in order, and the screenplay as it's written filmed, and then all the post-production and everything, doing it properly. People don't know how to do it the way I do. And I know I have my best work ever yet to come, as long as I keep living, unless God takes my life. You know, I could die, and I'm okay with that. I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, I think I can do way more meaningful, good films. When you think about it, you don't write the word S-H-I-T into it unless it's very important. When you've thought about it dozens of times, when you've looked back at that and considered it and reconsidered it and rewritten the script until you have a really good draft, you spent months writing it, or however long writing it, to make sure it's actually really well thought out. You've gone through the script from various places, put in foreshadowing, you know, really worked on the script to make sure it's good. The writing itself, it's good, and you have it done properly in proper format, proper screenplay format, which I know how to do with or without a screenplay program that helps me, but I prefer using a screenplay program, Final Draft. Anyway, no big deal. I'm good at it. Anyway, where did my films get me? I don't know. A tremendous, relentless effort to get what in return? So, I don't know. It was not easy. I had to plow a road for things that had not been done before for me to be able to do it. Anytime I made a film, I didn't have the money to make a film. I had to come up with the money somehow on credit cards, get it from my parents when they had never helped me with anything like that, get it from student loans, uh, uh, mostly on credit cards. It was all on credit cards pretty much. And by some miracle, I was able to pay it back later. I had to risk almost everything besides, people. I didn't hurt people, but I risked everything to just get one movie completed. It wasn't easy. It was like, you know, getting a real movie done and doing a good quality movie that's good and entertaining. It's not easy. And I can show you how to make a movie. I'm gonna have a screenwriting. I'm gonna have a filmmaking class. That's what I was doing here, designing an online film school. I think to make money at it because I've done that for a long time. I'm good at it. And I think, this is what I was saying here again. And I think I can make one of the best movies ever made, but it'll take years, maybe 7 years, to do one really that significant, and would probably be unable to ever do one that good again, unless I start a career of being paid at it, and then I can do more of my best work ever. Really, finally be working at that instead of like relentlessly doing like hundreds and thousands, hundreds of videos, like a video every day, and constantly working at it with this, like, not my best quality work, not the most thought out. Instead, this whole time, I would have done one movie. Instead of all those hundreds of videos, I would have done one movie. So instead, I did all those 100 videos. But I think I want to do my best movie yet. But how in the F will I pay my bills? I said, okay. Anyway, I don't really know what to do about my life. My kids, about my life. My kids are in Texas. I don't know, with their mom or my wife. I don't know who she. I love them all a lot, but she has not shown interest in me that much. Maybe I have to live right near them until she gets used to me more and wants to be with me more. I don't know. Am I not made to be in Texas? Maybe it's okay there. They have some good stuff there, but it doesn't feel like home. Maybe rent out my house and go live simply there somewhere. You think it's possible to be happy there? Okay, and then I wrote that to Danica. Anyway, that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. I'm gonna ignore these other people calling or whatever it is. Okay, so what do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? Look. There's me on the side. This is reading the whole time. Slept in a bed for 2 days. Have not taken a shower. So distraught and sad. Well, I'm gonna go. Okay. Bye. Click like in the video. Subscribe. This is John. Please comment and say, hey, you should do this, John, and I'll write and comment back. Okay, bye.